This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Ever since my last 5 cheap tips video, I've been getting a lot of questions relating to a guitar's setup. So I thought, what better way to address those things than doing another video like the last one. So here is 5 cheap tips for a better setup on your guitar. Number 1, check your neck relief with the strings on your guitar. The first step to any good setup is making sure your neck has the proper relief. Now, you do not want your neck to be completely 100% flat. You want a slight bend or relief in the neck. Now, you do not need a fancy straight edge or any fancy tools, although those certainly do work if you know someone who works at a guitar shop or something like that. But if you capo the first fret of your guitar and capo, let's say, anywhere, definitely not the last fret, but anywhere past the 12th fret, maybe the 14th, 15th, or 17th fret, and then check the relief in the middle of that string length, you will get the amount of relief that your guitar neck currently has. Now, the reason why you don't want to hold the string down at the very last fret is because a lot of necks these days are built with a slight amount of fall off on the fret leveling. This is to prevent fret out and to ensure that the higher frets have a lot of sustain, and you can usually get away with that by adding a little bit of fall off. The frets will get slightly lower in comparison to the ones before it. So it's not a good idea to hold down the fret at the last, or hold down the string at the last fret, just in case your guitar might have this. This isn't usually an advertised feature, but a lot of modern guitars do have it for comfort and playability reasons. As far as specs, that is a complete personal preference, but the industry standard seems to be somewhere between 10,000s and 20,000s, although I've seen guys, get mega flat and go like 4,000s or something like that. So it's just about a personal preference, but that is a good way to check the relief of your neck. Now that we've made sure the neck is straight, we can move on to intonating each string. And that brings us to tip number 2, chase the needle. Now, this is not some drug reference or anything like that. This is a cool and simple trick to help remind you which way to move the saddle when intonating a guitar string. When the guitar is in playing position and you have a chromatic tuner in front of you, when you tune the string, for example, I am tuning my D string and it is perfectly in pitch. Now, if I were to hold down the guitar string on the 12th fret and play that note, my needle would be slightly flat. Now, in my peripheral vision, the needle is slightly to my left, and chasing the needle would mean I would then move the saddle in the direction of the needle until it is in tune. This is telling me that there is too much length between the fretted note and the end of the saddle. So I need to move the saddle closer, chasing the needle. I need to move it closer to the 12th fret in order to bring the fretted note up to pitch. A lot of you entry-level players that don't want to bring your guitar into a tech just to be intonated, this is a really handy tip, and it's very easy to remember. Simply move the saddle in the direction that the needle is currently. So if you're sharp, you would then move the saddle back. If you're flat, if you're looking at it and the needle is flat, you move the saddle forward. It's very simple, and obviously you would stop soon as the needle is at 12 o'clock noon, i.e. in tune. A lot of you are asking for cleaning tips, and this one is a good one, which brings us to number 3, use steel wool to clean your frets. 000 steel wool is a great tool to help clean and polish your frets. Now, this pack of 16 steel wool pads at my local hardware store was $4.95. This is gonna last me years and years and years. Now, when you change your strings, if you're finding that the frets are a little gummed up or oxidized or anything like that, you simply just rub on the frets. Now, you can tape off your fretboard, although you don't have to. It's not absolutely mandatory, and tip number 4 is going to take care of that anyway. But if you do choose to tape off your fretboard, that is totally okay. But just a little light pressure on each fret will give them a little love and shine them up and make them feel oh so silky smooth, and we all want that. That leads us to tip number 4, lemon oil to clean your fretboard. Maintenance kits like this Dunlop guy are awesome, and they're very effective, and they break down each cleaning and maintenance step into individual bottles. But if you are on the road or want to clean your guitar on the cheap, good old-fashioned grandma's lemon oil is the way the pros do it. Now this is for guitars that don't have a finished fretboard, i.e. rosewood, ebony, things like that, not maple like this Fender Strat right here, because it's glossed over, so this would do no good. But a dash of lemon oil on something like a microfiber cloth, dip it in and rub it into your fretboard and then wipe it off. After you give it a few minutes to soak in, will both replenish and rehydrate your fretboard and also clean up any scratches like those left with the steel wool from step number 3. Pretty cool. And lastly, that brings us to tip number 5, correctly winding your string onto your non-locking guitar peg. Now, not every guitar has a locking tuner or a set of locking tuners, and I recently saw this classic video from Joe Bonamassa's guitar tech showing how he gets the guitar string to lock using non-locking tuners, and it is a simple winding technique. And I will link down to the video below, and I will also show you here in this fancy schmancy cut shot. But basically you put the string through, kink it, and wrap it once, and then it will basically pinch and lock the string right in place. It's super handy, super reliable, and you won't break any strings, and you will find the tuning stability to be absolutely awesome on your guitar. This is much better than alternatives like I used to do myself. I used to just wind and wind and wind and wind and pray that the string wouldn't slip, but this is a far more reliable method for winding your strings onto your guitars. If you have a cool tip or trick relating to the guitar or any musical equipment, really, leave a comment down below and maybe we'll make another video featuring some more tips. And now, a word from our sponsor. Skillshare is an online learning community with over 15,000 different classes ranging in subjects from photography, culinary, design, business management, musical theory, music instrument building. There's just everything on Skillshare. I mean, like, there's everything, for real. Anyone can take a class, try a project, and even teach a class themselves. Premium membership is as low as $10 a month for unlimited access to learning. Learn from anywhere. Download the mobile app on Android or iPhone and tap into classes even when you're offline. The first 100 people to use the link down below in the description will get their first 2 months at Skillshare absolutely free.